To get from the G League to the league, you gotta be made different. And now's their chance to prove it at the G League Winter Showcase, a different kind of tournament for a different kind of hooper. Ready for the next level. This is a whole different league. This is the world's most G League. From December 19 through 22nd, catch the action on ESPN Networks and NBA TV.
Wow, that was some World Cup final. Now, focus turns to Manchester United against Burnley. What a peculiar world we live in. A very warm welcome to the Manchester United Weekly Podcast. Thank you for joining us. It's good to be back with you after a short break. Although I'm afraid this week it's just me, Harry Robinson. My co-host Jack Tate can't record this week due to some personal reasons, but should be back with us all soon enough. Nevertheless, there is so much to talk about, and so I will. The World Cup, Messi, Martinez, the other Martinez and the other Martinez, Mbappe, Varane, United, Burnley, Garnacho, Sancho, Kobbie Mainoo, the FA Youth Cup, De Gea, the Papa John's Trophy, United Women third in the league, the Conti Cup. There is absolutely loads. Let's get stuck in fairly quickly, but as we head into the second half of the season, I'd like to thank some of our patrons for their support. So thank you to Tony, Josh, Ethan, Malcolm, Steve, Dio, David, Havard, Steve, Don, Damien, Christopher, Anthony, Adam, Marek, Arman, Michael, Reed, Craig, Simen, Mod and Ted. If you want to become a patron, you can. For as little as 40p a week, you get bonus Q&As at the end of most shows, you get ad-free episodes, you get early release episodes. Go to our Twitter at UTD Weekly Pod, POD at the end there, to find out more. And on with the show.
Va Montiel! Montiel! Goal! Argentina campeón! Argentina campeón del mundo!
Just the most incredible game of football I think I've ever seen. It had absolutely everything at the absolute pinnacle of the international game. Getting to enjoy an Argentina side purring with confidence, scything France apart, best demonstrated by that second goal. Every touch, run, pass, just absolute perfection, and all in a flash. A slightly dreary 20 minutes, all right, in the second half, but that only made the explosion of late action even better. That's what we were yearning for. And of course, it was Kylian Mbappe who brought it on. He is that guy. He might be the most that guy I've seen. And I think he'll continue to be in a way that no one has for the rest of his career. France had been so poor that the commentators, at least on the BBC, were attributing it to illness. And then Mbappe arrived. He is Pele reincarnated, and thankfully Pele's not even gone yet. He might play for France, but he appears to be the successor to Pele and Ronaldo, all in one. The most inevitable of footballers, and I suppose he's taken on Cristiano Ronaldo's mantle too in that sense. It got to 2-2 with the silliest of finishes, in a moment where Mbappe could have taken a touch, but such is his confidence in his ability that he didn't. 2-2, now France were purring, Argentina rocked. It felt as if Mbappe's third would follow before full time, and if not at the start of extra time at the very least. But then Argentina revived, they regained some control, and then the tide swung again. A Messi goal in nature and name followed, and you felt sick in your stomach. I didn't even genuinely support either of these teams. I wanted Argentina to win, but the incredible quality of Mbappe means a France win couldn't have been anything but enjoyed. And yeah, well, he came back again. He'd faced up Emi Martinez once, he'd beaten him twice. One of the best penalty stoppers in the tournament, maybe the best. A man who only just straddles the line between shithouse and cheat. But that did nothing to stop Mbappe. The hat-trick goal. And again, the tide swung. But again, when Argentina won the ropes, they came back. The most remarkable end to extra time in any match I've witnessed. Martinez denies the almost unknown Kolo Muani with one of the sport's great saves in added time of extra time at 3-0. And then in a flash, up at the other end, Lautaro Martinez heads wide. Mbappe and Messi up first in the shootout, not taking Neymar's mistakes, both converting, both on the precipice of eternal footballing greatness. And then Emi Martinez again, and then it's Argentina's.
Argentina campeón del mundo!
Messi paraded around like the hero he is. Just the most perfect game of football you could ever hope for. It had the lot. And it was an absolute privilege to watch. And one of the few games, I think, in my lifetime where I've watched and you know it's one of the great games as you're watching it. And I will talk about, relive, watch the highlights of that game, I think, for the rest of my life. And to have something more invested in it as a lover of Argentina, but also the United link with Lisandro Martinez. I'm absolutely delighted for him. As for Rafa Varane, that'll be a painful one, on the cusp of becoming one of the very few men to have won 2 World Cups. He gave it his all. I'm sure he'll need some time off before returning to club action, or perhaps he'll come back to try and take his mind off it. But that being said, United support relentlessly charging might not help, and you can bet that's the noise that will be coming out on Wednesday for the Carabao Cup game against Burnley, especially if Alejandro Garnacho starts and gets on the ball. I can't wait for it. It's going to be a great buzz. Live football back, United back. I genuinely can't wait. As for the World Cup overall, it's been wonderful to watch. All the while, yes, definitely, with the associated guilt and the disgust of those that use football in the way that they do, not just the Qatari rulers, and there's been plenty said about them, but those at the top of FIFA, perhaps even worse, Gianni Infantino desperately grasping onto Messi as he finally got to lift what he's worked his whole life for. Even Emmanuel Macron, the French president, relentlessly forcing his way into every moment with this French team. And it annoys me because it's those players and coaches and staff who work to get to the World Cup final, who deserve to take the plaudits for what they've achieved, who deserve their own time to face the fact of their eventual failure. They don't need Emmanuel Macron to intervene, to hug them 3 times on international television, grasping onto that moment in the spotlight, and so on and so on. There's plenty more we could talk about, but also to the workers who died to make this World Cup happen. And not just them, but also the workers whose lives have been ruined, and to their families through exploitation, discrimination, and what they've had to endure. That stadium for the final was a remarkable sight, beautiful, fit to host a game of that spectacle, but bloodstained. And maybe the longer we get away from the absolute buzz and joy at watching that game and the rest of the tournament, maybe the more we'll think about that. Now, to United. As I said, it will be brilliant to be back at Old Trafford on Wednesday night, and I'm sure many people are thinking the same. The capacity has had to be reduced due to nurses' strikes in England, but fortunately there were enough voluntary cancellations that no one who wanted or desperately wanted to go has had their ticket cancelled. And I'm sure for some season ticket holders as well, the option of voluntary cancellation was helpful to get a bit of extra cash around Christmas time. So there's a silver lining there too, at least. As for United, it's been hard to kind of take your attention off. At least for me, I'm a lover of international football and of World Cups. I know some United fans and just generally some fans of teams, especially like United, Liverpool, and other massive teams, don't quite have the same interest in international football as they do club football. But I found it hard to be distracted by club football when the World Cup's on. That being said, you are obviously keeping an eye on it, and I am buzzing for United to be back. And Erik Ten Hag's had a long time to work with the players who have remained at the club, either not picked for their national teams or from nations who didn't qualify. David De Gea included, Victor Lindelof, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, many others. And some who have returned fairly early, like Christian Eriksen or Facundo Pellistri. Jadon Sancho is another, and a really fascinating case, and one of the really interesting bits of this mid-season break. Ten Hag sent him to the Netherlands to work with coaches that that Ten Hag knows well. It's not a punishment or an exile, but something Ten Hag thinks will help Sancho regain his form and kick on at United. He started the season with a bit of something about him, which made the drop-off in form an even greater shame. It looked like he was finding his feet and ready to progress back to the quality that we know he has. The goal against Liverpool, the first goal in that 2-1 win, and then against Leicester, but then it fell off starting in October, really, and since he fell well down the pecking order, his confidence was gone, and he just wasn't running at people. He didn't look the same player at all. So if this works, brilliant. I think it's an absolute necessity for United. Sancho's the 3rd most expensive English player of all time, £73 million. And at the time, we thought that was a good deal. Hopefully, we'll be proved right on that. And this is just a blip. But he was absolutely brilliant at Borussia Dortmund. We know how good he can be. But crucially, United don't have huge amounts of money to spend going forward. As recent financial results have shown, there's a caveat of a possible takeover, definitely. But short term and long term, we need Sancho to eventually perform and come good. I am confident that will happen eventually. He's 22, he's got the talent, But yeah, him and United need to get this back on track. Ten Hag's put him on an individual fitness program away from the rest of the squad. I think that'll be helpful. It's also a bit of a mental break for him, away from the squad, away from the cameras, social media, from press conferences, mixed zones, all of that. So hopefully this works. We simply won't know until he's back. He won't be playing against Burnley. He's not back. Who will be playing against Burnley? I imagine Ten Hag will take this fairly seriously. He's shown himself not to rotate huge amounts before throughout the Europa League group stages. That being said, it came back to bite him a little. United finished second, not first, and had injuries and tired legs after those games. So perhaps he will have changed. I think of the young players, we'll see Garnacho and Pellistri involved in some regard. I think Garnacho will start. I think we'll see Kobbie Mainoo on the bench at the very least. He's got plenty of attention on him at the moment. And him attracting attention is no new thing. He scored against Cadiz and then made a decent contribution as a sub against Real Betis. He's only 17, a midfielder from Stockport. United signed him from the Cheadle and Gatley club. He's still eligible for the FA Youth Cup, which is under 18s, let alone the Papa John's Trophy, which is an under 21s competition. But he played in neither of two really important ties in each competition during December. The Youth Cup against Crystal Palace and the Papa John's Trophy against Bolton. Erik ten Hag kept him around the first team instead. And it seems clear by that he's way ahead of others his age and even those who are older than him. The goal against Cadiz was a good one. It was a real, I think, if you haven't watched much of him, I think it would have been a real eye-opener into what kind of player we're talking about here. The shot was fine. It needed a deflection to go in. But it was the few touches before that I think showed all you need to know about him. The left foot touch on the spin, 2 pieces of close control with his right foot, then that kind of punched forward touch to create space and a left-footed shot. It's the variety of touches there that impresses me, and the speed at which he can kind of pull the ball in and poke it back out, but all the while he seems in complete control. It's a good example of what kind of play is about, that technical quality, the control and the composure in tight spaces, the ability to see what's around him, and the balance to be able to do all of that as well. It's like the ball on a string kind of quality. He's got a lot of work still to do, but he's clearly a very talented player. I think that quality as well, and the qualities he's shown in the youth teams and the first team have shown where he should be featuring in future, and that's high up the pitch. Been plenty of comparisons to Paul Pogba, and Mainoo might have a similar issue in English football of being given that freedom to really thrive further up the pitch. It doesn't mean he has to be a number 10. I don't think that is his role. I think his role will be deeper, but wherever he plays, whatever midfield role he has going forward, he'll need that freedom to be able to thrive further up the pitch. He's physically very good. That's why he's dominated at youth levels. He's dominated a little bit less at under 18 level when he was 15, 16 and under 21 level when he's 16, 17, but still showing his quality. And that's a really good challenge for him. He'll need to, because he's going to operate in all those tight spaces, he'll need to refine his strength and balance to cope with men's football, with senior football. But he's progressing really well. He's a well-grounded kid, speaks very well, takes things seriously, whatever that is to do with football. Training, interviews, media training, education, whatever it is. He seems like someone who's been ready for the attention that he is getting and is going to get. It seems like he's been ready for that for a while. And I think that maturity shows on the pitch as well. He's not fussed after a hard tackle, and he's got consistency to his performances that is a really positive thing and pretty rare for a player of that age. He wasn't the only young player taken on the first team's Spain training camp, but Ten Hag gave him good minutes and kept him there when others his age flew home early to play in the FA Youth Cup. Mainoo played against Real Betis, and after the squad came back, first team squad that is, he stayed with the first team. He wasn't involved in the under-21s Papa John's Trophy game at Bolton. He trained with the first team that day instead, and then the next day was involved when they played Everton in a behind-closed-doors friendly the following day, which ended in a 1-1 draw. He could have a role to play against Burnley, and maybe in the festive league fixtures too. I'm sure he'll be on the bench for the Burnley game and for a couple of the games after. Whether he gets on in any of them or starts any of them, I'm not sure. I doubt he'll start, but I think Garnacho will. And it's been a great opportunity for Garnacho to work on things too. I'm hoping to see him come out of this break with the same confidence as before. Obviously, his kind of final kick before the World Cup and before the club football paused was a goal, a winning goal. I'm hoping to see him come out with that same confidence, but a bit quicker, a bit stronger, even sharper, and with some new tools to his box as well. And Jack and I have spoken a bit before about the opportunity that David De Gea's had as well, a chance to get better with his feet and with his teammates. And I'm hoping to see that coming out of the break, and that's something I'll definitely be keeping an eye on as well. As for Burnley, they're a good team. Top of the Championship, Vincent Kompany's got them doing well. A 3-1 win from behind against Michael Carrick's Middlesbrough at the weekend. Top of the league, 6 points clear of second place Sheffield United, although the Blades have a game in hand. Burnley have lost only once since the 12th of August, and Kompany will obviously be well up for this one, and so will Burnley and their fans as well. They hate United, so it could be tricky. Either way, it'll be good fun having United back, no matter how weird it is so soon after the World Cup final. Let's take a quick break, and then I'll be back with a detailed youth and women's roundup for those of you who want to hear it.
Sports Social, now on the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Calling all NFL fans. Are your team's Super Bowl dreams in tatters? Do you wish the season was over already? Don't hold in your Sunday night frustrations or burden yourself with the pain of Thursday night football. Get it off your chest every week on the NFL Vent Zone podcast. Watch live on the Sport Tank Facebook page every Thursday at 7 p.m. and enjoy the NFL season in the best way possible by venting. Listen to the latest episode now on the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Let's begin with the under-18s, who will travel to Stoke City in the FA Youth Cup fourth round after defeating Crystal Palace 3-1 at a bitterly cold and foggy Selhurst Park in mid-December. Travis Binion's side, who are the competition's current holders, you'll remember having beaten Nottingham Forest last season at Old Trafford, they established a comfortable 2-goal lead within the first 12 minutes. Maxi Oyedele, who was one of 3 starters who had been involved with the first team's training camp in Spain. Oyedele scored the first, pouncing on a loose ball and finishing after Manny Norquet's excellent left-wing run and cutback. Tyler Fredrickson, the defender who played all the way through the Youth Cup last season, but then was ill on the day of the final and missed out, which was a great shame. And captain Dan Gore had also come back from Spain early to play. Dan Gore, a midfielder, and a very talented one at that as well. Goalkeeper Eli Harrison, who's 16, United signed from Stevenage in the summer, was welcomed to Carrington by John Murtagh. He made a brilliant save with his feet just a few minutes after Oyedele's opener, and then launched the counter-attack. Sonny Al-Jafri, a defender, with a perfectly weighted long ball forward. That was received gratefully by Manny Norquet, who showed great strength and control to hold off his man before a clinical low finish past Jackson Izquierdo in the Crystal Palace goal, who made a string of excellent saves before half-time, as did Eli Harrison. And after half-time, Palace captain Freddie Bell spun past James Nolan to create space on the right side of the box and then finished past Harrison from a tight angle with a powerful strike. Really good goal. The game was on then. Palace hit the bar, gained momentum, forced another couple good saves from Eli Harrison, but United made a couple of subs. Jack Morehouse came on, Ethan Wheatley came on, and things calmed down a little bit. And then both subs were involved in the build-up for United's third goal, the result-sealing goal. Morehouse directing Wheatley's pass onto Sam Mather, who cut inside onto his right foot before a postage stamp top right corner finish. Really good goal to wrap things up. It was an assured performance, a comfortable result against a good Crystal Palace team. And it's particularly impressive, that result, given the side hadn't played in almost a month. The league match the previous weekend at home to Leeds United had been postponed after logistical difficulties. United have had some trouble with ambulance staff at a few youth games all throughout the last 18 months. But regardless of several players coming back late and like key players like Kobbie Mainoo not being involved, it was a really good performance. United played like the holders of the competition. They just looked comfortable, looked confident, looked like they believed in themselves, and it showed. And the league coach Travis Binion spoke about that afterwards, about how winning it last season, how having the experience of playing in front of nearly 70,000 people at Old Trafford has had an evident impact on the belief of this team, as well as the experience of training with the first team in Spain and at Carrington. And it's worth noting It's worth noting the legacy of last year's FA Youth Cup win. Alejandro Garnacho now firmly a first team squad member. Charlie McNeil made his debut in September against Real Sociedad. Fredriksson's been on the bench. Kobbie Mainoo's been on the bench. So that legacy is clear to see, and pretty much the whole Youth Cup winning team were in Spain with the first team. To wrap up on the under-18s, since they beat Crystal Palace in the Youth Cup, they won at home 3-0 against Middlesbrough. Manny Norquet's good form continuing. He's been good this season, playing out of the shadow of Charlie McNeil. Goal and assist in this one. And as well as an own goal, the other strike came from Jack Morehouse, who's also having a good first proper season in the under-18s. Up an age group, United reached the Papa John's last 16 for the first time. This was their fourth campaign in the competition. They topped the group with 2 wins and a draw, wins against Carlisle and Barrow and a draw against Fleetwood Town, then drew against Wolves in the first knockout round, but won on penalties after that 0-0 stalemate. But in this last 16 were well beaten by Bolton Wanderers 4-0. It was a step too far, and I think that was pretty clear pretty much from the off. Bolton dominated and had loads of chance in the first half, but seemed to miss them all. I think it was 14 shots in the first half and 2 on target. It was really poor. Nathan Bishop did make one good save. The coach Travis Binning told his players after that they should use it as a litmus test to see whether they're ready for men's football, ready for a loan move to League 1 or 2. Some showed that they might be. Others showed that they're not yet. Zidane Iqbal showed some quality on the ball. Shola Shoreteri always has something about him. He's a Cantanaran, fluffed his one good shooting opportunity, but continued to show his talent. He's a good player, quiet individual, took a while to settle in at United. It was really difficult arriving during COVID, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer helped him out a bit when he was manager, but it was tough, and he's played really well this season, and I'm hoping has settled down a bit more. It was a brilliant atmosphere at Bolton. I cannot emphasise enough how cold it was. When we left, when the car pulled out of the car park at the University of Bolton Stadium, the car's temperature read -3 degrees Celsius. It was very, very cold. But despite that, and despite the fact it was the night of the World Cup semi-final between Argentina and Croatia, and that was on free-to-air television, 1,600 United fans turned up and made great noise. It was brilliant, and the coaches and the players were buzzing with it despite the result. It was somehow a really good night despite that disappointing result. And to be honest, this wouldn't have happened not during the World Cup time, because it felt like fans who came had been starved of United, of live football, of relentlessly, raucously singing 12 Cantonars all throughout the build-up to Christmas. 12 Cantonars did get a bit of an airing in early November, which was slightly immoral. I joined in a couple of times because it's just the great chant of United support. But I think this was the first real allowed, permitted airing of 12 Cantonars, and it was really loud. It kind of rung about in this otherwise pretty much empty Bolton Stadium. It was freezing. There was snow outside. Double socks didn't even cut it. It was very cold. And a good kind of occasion. This was a mini revival of a local derby. Bolton is just 12 miles outside of Manchester. It's a proud city and a very proud football club. But both the city and the football club are kind of overshadowed by Manchester and Manchester United. And the success of United throughout the 90s and 2000s meant many kids from Bolton support Man United, support them as it would be the much despised global successful super club down the road. So it was a chance for Bolton to enjoy a victory over United. As for United fans in the away end, it was a chance to bring out some old favourites, songs poking fun at Bolton Wanderers that have been unaired since they were relegated from the Premier League just a decade ago. Yeah, So it was the turnout was something a bit special, and it does genuinely have an impact on the players. There was one great moment in particular that stood out for me when Bjorn Hardley, the defender, successfully crunched into a challenge on the left wing, and he was just kind of 20-25 metres away from the United away end, and this thunderous roar of United followed in recognition, and it kind of echoed around the empty upper tiers of the ground. It was brilliant, and you could see the kind of buzz the players got from that. So that was good. The result was bad. United out of the Papa John's at the last 16 stage, but they'll be pleased with getting there for the first time in their fourth campaign in the competition. As for United women, their most recent match was a 4-0 win over Sheffield United in the Continental Cup. It was a really good chance for manager Mark Skinner to rotate because the game was a dead rubber. Despite a good 4-2 win over Everton in equally freezing conditions as those endured for the under-21s at Bolton, United women had gone out of the groups in the previous game, that game against Everton, because of results elsewhere. But both results were good wins. And in the latter, Adriana Leon, the exciting Canadian summer signing who hasn't played much and fans have been wondering where she is. Well, she showed where she is. She scored twice against Sheffield United. Martha Thomas scored one, with the other being an own goal. But the big story the past couple of weeks for United women was an away draw at Manchester City in the Women's Super League. Earlier in the season, you might recall this team had finally managed the first ever victory in the league over a top three rival. That was Arsenal at the Emirates. They had lost to Chelsea a couple of weeks before that. It was a really big moment. And then they hoped to beat City, who have declined significantly this season, to really show how much progress they've made. But it wasn't to be, despite being the better side at the Etihad, where about 40,000 fans were watching. Leah Galton put United in front, but Laura Coombs equalised in the second half, and that made it level from the 58-minute mark up until the final whistle. Manager Mark Skinner spoke of how disappointed the team were, but said that this was a demonstration of just how far they've come. And WSL women's football journalists are pretty much in agreement about this, that United's mentality is completely and evidently changed this season. They feel and look like a top three side, like title challengers. The team now goes into their winter break. They sit third in the league on 22 points, 2 points behind Arsenal, who are on 24, and 5 points behind leaders Chelsea, but they have a game in hand on Chelsea. They don't have a game in hand on Arsenal. They're trailing by 2 points despite beating them. The title would need an epic, almost perfect second half of the season, but it's not out of the question. And United really should finish in the top three from here. They're only 3 points above City, but with the form they've showed and the quality, they have to finish in the top three for the first time. I think anything else will definitely and rightly be seen as a failure. That's it from me. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. We'll be back to normal with Jack soon, and I'll be back after Wednesday's game against Burnley with some reaction from Old Trafford. I can't wait to be back in the Stretford end. I know there'll be many others feeling the same. And it's only Burnley, it's only the Carabao Cup. I hope you've all enjoyed the World Cup, had a good couple of weeks, and I'll speak to you very soon. Goodbye for now.
Podcast Network.
Who's virtual reality really for? Oh, just anyone who wants to be a quarterback in NFL Pro Era. Do you want to become the Iron Man? Because you can do that too. Maybe you want a casual afternoon fighting zombies. Or a roller coaster in your living room. The MetaQuest 2 is for anyone who's wishing big this holiday season.
Make your extraordinary wishes come true in virtual reality with MetaQuest 2. Buy now at meta.com/quest. MetaQuest 2 for ages 13+.